What is your I don't get paid enough for this shit moment? Plumber owner of a mobile home called and said they had a stinky yard. I could smell it when I pulled up. The mobile home was new and had only been set up for about 8 months. While setting it up, someone didn't tighten the no-hub band of the toilet in the kids' bathroom. 8 months of flush toilet was all over the ground, under the home, and had just started being noticed outside. I told the homeowner to call the guys that set it up to come fix it. I wasn't crawling under there. Oh God. And it must have been smelling long before it got that bad. I'm picturing them walking around their house for months, asking what is that smell? It had brick underpinning. So it mostly was just pooling underneath the home. It's amusing that your username goes along with that story. I worked at Circuit City when I was 17. Heard a noise of packaging being opened in the movies section, found a guy crouched down cutting open DVD boxes stealing the discs. He looked at me, held his knife out and said, "Got a problem?" I just replied, "I don't get paid enough for this shit," backed off. I went to the back room of the warehouse area to call a manager to tell them what happened. Never could get a hold of anyone, so I just chilled in the warehouse area for a half hour to decompress. The wise choice. Why get shanked over some ducking megacore DVDs? Imagine getting killed over Big Mama's house. Imagine getting caught stealing Big Mama's house. When I was doing 90% of my boss job in hopes of a full-time promotion that I had been promised for 3 years, and he took all the credit and told me my promotion wasn't in the budget. Bro, duck that. Yup. I left 2 weeks later. Good. I was volunteering at a state park. One of the paid park rangers would drive people around to various locations to work. Then come check on you throughout the day. Bitch tried to drop me off at the bathrooms and told me to clean them. I was like, nope, that's not happening. I'm here to work outside. She told me, "You're gonna do whatever I tell you to do or I won't sign off on your hours." Then I had to explain that not everyone who volunteered to work was there because they'd been sentenced to community service. Edit, didn't get an actual apology, but I ended up working on removing some invasive plants that day, at a nice spot overlooking a river. Instead of cleaning toilets. And worked with different park rangers for the rest of the time I volunteered there. What was her reaction? I've been in a similar situation. Parent made me volunteer for whole summer vacations. One retirement home, the event coordinator was a total asshole and told him I wasn't there to get bitched at. He threatened to not sign on my hours and I asked him what hours. He replied with, "Oh, your family must not love you," and I think at that moment he realized I'm a ducking 13-year-old. So he called my mom and told her they're all full for volunteers this summer and to leave me somewhere else for free daycare. That free daycare line is great though. Someone probably needed to tell your parents that. I'm a public librarian. I was helping someone in the computer room and turned to tell someone he needed to keep his exclamations at the video he was watching down. Just then, the woman I was helping leapt aside because the man I was shushing pissed himself. It ran down onto the jacket he had tied around his waist, down the chair, onto the ground. Turns out he'd snuck in alcohol and was totally blackout drunk. I told him he had to leave. He put the piss-covered jacket on and stumbled out. As I returned with gloves and cleaning supplies, another patron decided this was a good time to complain about some kids who were making noise. I took a deep breath and said, "This is a good time for us all to appeal to our higher selves and do our best in the moment. Please just adapt for a minute." Then I thought about the student loans I took out for the master's degree as I scrubbed up piss. I took a deep breath and said, "This is a good time if we all just appeal to our higher selves and do our best in the moment. Please just adapt for a minute." There really ought to be some kind of beatification process for librarians. Absolute saint. I worked at a heating and air conditioning company doing bookkeeping. I was being trained by the company's accountant. If I made a mistake, the owner would literally scream at me full voice. I overheard him talking to his brother, and his brother had told him not to scream at me. The owner said, "You have to tear them down to build them up." I decided I wasn't going to take another day of his screaming after that. I remember one of the assistant managers at the grocery store I worked at said the district managers wanted all the employees to be afraid of management or something asinine like it. I told him that is a good way to get employees to do the bare minimum. I only went out of my way to help the managers I liked. He agreed that he got the best results out of people by treating them with respect. Lo and behold, the number of shitty managers we had that ran stores into the ground. Grocery store cashier. The customer was angry because her cereal had rung up wrong. I called a price check and this lady berated me the whole time. I recall that she accused me of trying to steal from her. Said she was going to get me fired. I looked at her and said, I make $7.25 per hour no matter how much you pay for this cereal, so I do not give a shit how this situation turns out. She stared at me in shock. The price check comes back saying the price scanned correctly. Silence. I said, so do you want the cereal or not? She said, yes. And that was that. She did not complain to the manager. Never fails to astound me how many shitty people just fold in shock when a retail worker says literally anything in response to their bullshit. Most of them are just small, cowardly people that get their courage from the power difference in those situations. They know the poor little cashier can't put them in their place like any other person would, so they abuse that. Until their luck runs out and they find someone that doesn't give a shit. Most of them are just small, cowardly people that get their courage from the power difference in those situations. And 99% of them don't realize that's what they're doing. It just feels normal. I ran the entire company's financials and general management for $14 HR. I had a meeting with the owner telling him I need a raise and to hire an assistant. He told me I wasn't business-minded and should be a stay-at-home mom. I quit the next day. That was so disrespectful. Bagging groceries at a major supermarket. The manager came over to tell me that I needed to clean up the bathroom. An elderly gentleman fell off the toilet while pooping and it was a literal shit show. Apparently I was the most qualified because I was 16. I was handed a broom and a dustpan. I shit you not, sorry had to, my reward for going above and beyond the call of duty. $5 in-store coupons. Sometimes dreams really do come true. Not sure about your country, but growing up I always got out of that by saying I haven't been trained in hazardous materials or biomaterial handling and disposal. If you train me and provide the proper protective equipment, I'm happy to do it. They'll always find someone else, as technically it is biohazardous material and by law, at least where I am, requires a bunch of BS. No employer wants to even think about the Ministry of Labor. I know that would work in America, but also, biohazard training is a joke. You watch a 8-minute video, and they show you where the special biohazard bucket is, and guess what the bucket contains? Standard cleaning supplies and extra gloves, nothing special, just average stuff that's been put with the bucket. I worked at Kroger for a very short time, and we had biohazard stations throughout the store. They were always empty. Luckily I didn't work there long enough to have to tell a manager I wouldn't be cleaning up blood or shit without the proper training or equipment, but I did work there long enough on night stocking to spill bleach all over myself from a crushed bottle on a pallet. Manager said you can grab some hydrogen peroxide and pay for it in the morning. I grabbed it, absolutely did not pay for it after neutralizing the bleach burning, and quit the following week. That's ducked up. I once slipped on wax and landed on my back. My manager pretty much carried me to his truck, drove me to the med clinic, waited for me, and drove me home after. I hate these stories of stupid-ass managers treating their employees like shit. Managers should be competent, but sadly many are horrible. First day at the health department, I'm left at the reception desk alone while literally everyone else in the office went out to a farewell lunch for the person I was replacing. As I was on 90-day probation, wasn't yet licensed and badged, my pay was $7. 96 hours. I'm sitting at reception, and some redneck comes in with a leaking garbage bag and drops it on my desk. It contains a newly beheaded javelina head. His buddy had been bitten, and it needed to be tested for rabies ASAP. I had no ducking clue what to do with a leaking garbage bag of javelina head. He couldn't wait for others to return, so he left a number and split. Turns out, we don't do that sort of thing at the health department. Guy refused to come back. Javelina pig-like creature in Central and South America for anyone else wondering. Edit, SWUSA2, also a Texan chimed in and said if you're chased by one, climb a tree and they are good eating, can be eaten, so up if no rabies you can have a little barbecue.